Hey, oh shoot, if you can believe it, don't. I'm gonna say it like this. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today's the 31st of May, 2026. What is this? Dante, this is what we used to do. Oh my gosh, the surrounding sounds here now? Oh, for this one. This is an episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. This is episode 205. We're here in St. George, Utah. We moved. It's been about a month, though, since we did. Man, In the Image Clothing Company, allowing the body to work. Clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. Staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, just for the copyright claim's sake. This back here says, and I quote, IGOTPOOP, unquote. Okay. Why are you putting this in your podcasts? Background, Evan Strong. Well, because it's blunt, bold, raw, and real. We do it as we do it, just wherever we do it. So the surrounding sounds, it is what it is. But I got a new device from what I did have, to film these videos with under any of the four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. My current standard poodle, Dante, is here with me. We're just on the grass. We're actually at a building of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in St. George, Utah. It's Sunday. It's the Sabbath. Here's the thing. Let's talk about some things. This episode, 205 of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, it feels weird because we moved down here to St. George, Utah about a month ago. It was right around the end of April, and now it's the 31st of May. It's the last day of May as far as I know, right? 31 days in May. Oh man, I feel content though, filming an episode of a podcast, the podcast, right? Our podcast here. We have filmed so many videos since we moved down here. We have I lost 2 full-length videos, over an hour long plus, an hour plus length videos, for the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, discussing the anatomy of the human body and things like this, what we do. Clothing being the only thing physically placed on us to allow the body to work, and discussing everything we do in life: eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything, whatever it could be. We first have to address our clothing. It's the only thing physically placed on us, as I said, but there's a lot of imbalances in clothing, a lot of imbalances that get shipped across the entire earth, so fairly universal clothing imbalances are being shared by human beings within this universal human design. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work. There's no claim to it. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in such depth, giving a lot of free modifications in clothing you've purchased from other people. And we will always have good clothing here. Okay. In the Image Clothing Company. Only a clothing company to allow the body to work, but certainly a clothing company. As of today's date, we don't yet have clothing available, but this video's title, this podcast episode, the reason I'm filming this right now really is to give this discussion, because I was sitting here with Dante on the grass. I was praying. What a beautiful place to pray. That's why we're here, right? We didn't go to church today. I currently don't have a place where I can leave Dante alone yet here in town since we moved. I've literally spent 24 hours a day every single day with him, except for about 6 days, which I'll get into the discussion of this. There will probably, I've been thinking about filming one at least, but yeah, maybe be an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Move, and just explaining what it's been like and what it was like and is, like even right now. But since we moved down here to St. George, Utah, we've been talking about it for a long time, documenting things as we do, date marking things as we do, under In the Image Clothing Company's 5-word company name. But it's been crazy and awesome. It's been a huge adventure and extremely hard. We've grown a lot through it. There you go. I mean, a lot of explanation there. Usually podcasts, up until now at least, have been filmed indoors, where there's basically just about no surrounding sounds. It's a podcast. You just kind of sit down and listen to me discuss things. You don't really have to watch it at all necessarily. But well, that's how I film the main side videos as well. If you've noticed, I do what I can to explain things so thoroughly that, at least most of the time, you wouldn't have to even be watching it. And I explain what's going on, even the visuals I show with my body when we're discussing how the body works, anatomy-wise, and things like this. I verbally explain it as well as visually show it so that you could listen to most all of the main side of In the Image Clothing Company videos and not even have to watch them and still basically get the fullness of the information that's within them. So this is what I'm saying is this episode's title is things like that. We do all that we can here under In the Image Clothing Company to have it be permanent. Being founded upon the truth of God. It's in our company name, In the Image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company because we're designed in the image of Jesus Christ. And so anything clothing the body, the literal wording, glasses, shoes, hats, pants, tops, gloves, undergarments, jewelry, anything. You just sling a shirt over your shoulder. You're clothing your shoulder with just the shirt on it. The way that God clothes the fields with grass. Okay, it just is what it is, the literal wording. That's why we're here as In the Image Clothing Company, is to not restrict the body. The body has to work around anything physically placed on it. If it's not working for the body, the only way the bones connect directly through ligaments, and then the muscles pull only and just directly in line. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work, but we get into deep patterning in our bodies, trying to work around clothing, trying to work around our modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth, right? So we get in depth with our discussions to the point where there's no possible dispute. We don't have some kind of new information or claim. We just discuss things that we don't see if we don't see as human beings. But every body who has one and everyone who has a body has always been the exact same in this universal human design. Unless your body's very specifically different only from the universal human design, and that we do what we do there to address differences, slight differences, or even quite big differences, amputations, deformities, birth defects, major surgeries, or anything at all that sets your body apart a little bit or a lot, quite a bit, anywhere in between. It is what it is. The body is just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. Okay, In the Image Clothing Company, there's a little bit of an intro to what we are, who we are, why we're here. This episode's title, I'm going to actually say it right now, right? 10-Year Clothing. That's the title of this one here, episode 204 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And let me explain why, and let me explain what I mean by that. Let me first say that we're not having a guarantee. It's not like if your clothing doesn't last you 10 full years, then bring it back to us and we'll give you new clothing. That is not the case, okay? At least as of now, that's certainly not what I'm saying by any means. That will never be the case, but just if we have any kind of guarantee on anything sometime, I'm saying no right now, as far as we don't have anything like that, like planned to be, right? Any kind of guarantee on any product ever. But we'll always have good clothing, okay? I mean, we'll have customer service, and if you get a product that didn't come how it should have been, that's one thing. But I'm not saying a guarantee about, like, you know, sometimes you buy a product from somebody or someone or some company and some brand, and you can either purchase like some kind of plan, like a protection thing on it, or they just have a guarantee. If it stops working within this amount of time, bring it back to us and replace it, and we will replace it for you. People will say, we're not doing that. It's just clothing. It's not like we're selling vehicles or, you know, something like this that's more expensive or it has things that can really go wrong with it. The point is, take care of your clothing. You know, we discuss how to just take care of clothing as well under In the Image Clothing Company. To take care of your body, you have to take care of the only things that you're physically placing onto it, clothing, and then you have to take care to eat intentionally and stay hydrated intentionally and know what these things actually mean and not be overly hydrated, and how does that work, and we discuss it. But In the Image Clothing Company, the thing is, 10-year clothing, what I'm saying is aligning with what I was saying, things that last. This has been our approach since the very founding of In the Image Clothing Company. The way that I discuss things, and like I was just saying, how when I do discuss things under even the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, even though they are videos and they're meant to be watched, they are usually videos that you can only listen to, and you basically don't miss out on any information within them. I mean, some stuff you would need to see it, then there you go, to be able to know, you know, what I'm really discussing or showing. That's why they're videos and it's not audio only. And there's a lot of benefit to watching the videos if I've made them for the sake of having it be a video, or anyone at the team under In the Image Clothing Company, just as time progresses. You know, I mean, that's why we approach things how we do, is because, well, there's a point to it. But that's what I am saying, is we're trying to have everything last, because I can film a video under In the Image Clothing Company, well, today, and let's say it's episode 205 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, right? This one here. and it can last forever. The human body's anatomy will never change the way it works. Truth doesn't change ever on anything that is ever true. It always has been and always will be. We don't get to decide or change truth as human beings. But just having things that last, that's what I'm saying with 10-year clothing. And we'll get into metaphoric things because this is really what we do here under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's the point of this fourth of our company. It's a whole fourth of our entire company, the podcast here. I mean, we're in this 205 now after this one episodes, right? Yeah, there's a lot to this and why we have the podcast. But like I'm saying, I'm sitting at this building, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm sitting here with Dante, my little doggy dog here, in St. George, Utah. And what I was saying, praying to God, truly, I mean, really, is I was thinking about these name brands. You know, we've got a lot of like really commonly known name brands around this time. Things like Champion and Nike. And I was thinking about, you know, Supreme, right? Not for the sake of the brand name, but just because I was thinking about certain things like Champion hoodies or sweatshirts or t-shirts. It's just a brand that makes clothing. You know, they make backpacks and fanny packs and pants and things like this. I'm pretty sure Champion makes shoes. I'm pretty sure. It's just an example. It's not about which brands I discuss in this episode at all. There's really nothing to do with that other than to show the longevity. I was sitting here realizing, you know, I mean, I've been discussing this idea of having 10-year clothing since very early on under In the Image Clothing Company, but just because our approach has never been fashion and it will never be fashion. And let me like point my finger at myself here, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, because we can never change on that. You get caught up in modern trends and fashion things that are just conditional to a time, fads and phases and things that people are so into until it's a thing of the past. This is why I'm talking about these other brands. And I could talk about any brand of anything, not just clothing and not just the specific brands I'm mentioning in this video, just to be clear on why I'm mentioning any brands at all here. Because personally, me, I look at a brand that I've seen for decades. You know, I watch TV shows or movies and people were wearing these same brands and it's just about the exact same or actually the exact same design. You know, things from like the 90s, you know, like 30 years ago from today's date, you know, in 2026. Like, you see these TV shows, movies, and even back, like, farther back, you know, than just 30 years ago. But that's what I'm saying is they will have the exact same design or just about, but a lot of times it truly is the exact same design for tens and tens of years because it's timeless. That's why I'm saying I'm sitting here at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints building, just one of the many, right here in Utah. They're all over the place, which is awesome. And the point of having them, right, is to have people have access to coming to church, to getting the truth of the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ that we have in modern 2026, right, and going forth. And it is what it is, right? Don't believe me. As I say, don't believe me. Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, any of our team members, any of our poodles even, with any of our information under In the Image Clothing Company, because truth is truth, and we can all discuss truth, we can all know truth, understand truth, uncover truth, but it's always there, it always remains. Another name for God is the truth. So, the thing is, the church here, it's just always what it is. I mean, you had Christians thousands of years ago, you've got Christians today worshiping the same God, the same principles of life, the same truth, the same things we all need. It's things that are relevant, it's things that are needed, it's tangible, it's not outdated ever, not possibly, because it's just something we all need. You see what I'm saying? Well, we were just sitting here at the church anyway. I mean, we didn't get to go to church today, like I was saying, so I wanted to come sit here and at least sit on the grounds of the church. You know, it's a building that's dedicated to God. The grounds, even, like the grass and the parking lot, seriously, as far as I know. But yeah, the whole property, really, right, is the point, is dedicated to God. Meaning this place is built here to serve and worship God, and that's the point of this building being built. Okay. So even though we didn't get to go to church today, I wanted to come over here and sit And as I was doing, I'm praying through it, and just life, because we're still, just trying to figure out where we're gonna actually live specifically, exactly here in St. George, Utah, as of today, the 31st of May, 2026. Dante and I, at least, my current standard poodle. And then we'll build our building here, and we'll go forth as In The Image Clothing Company. We'll build our team here. As I've said, it is what it is, and we're here, and we're just going as we're going, taking it one day at a time, as you always have to do. And as I'm praying, I'm just realizing we have a lot of good brands that make really good products. Or we could even just not even say that they're good brands, because I'm not focusing on other brands at all, but we have a lot of people that have made really good products. I don't know anything about the brands of certain brands. I don't know what's behind them and things like this. Is why I'm not trying to shout out specific brands right now, because I'm honestly focusing on the products right now, which is normally not how we would do it here. We would talk about the people behind the companies, the people behind the businesses, the people behind the brands. But as far as the product, we can talk about it like this. The gospel of Jesus Christ is the product that comes out of the community of disciples of Jesus Christ's church. Disciples of Jesus Christ. Wow, there you go. Yeah, sure. Sure, meaning the first way it worked also, but the second way I said it is really what I was meaning to say. It's the same thing, though, basically, right? Just serving God, following Jesus Christ. A disciple is a follower. We're following this good product, the fruits of the labor. We put in the labor, and what comes is the fruit growing off the tree that we get to have. We reap the harvest we have sown. You put in a good product through this community we have as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and just Christians in general across the earth, disciples of Jesus Christ. If we're trying to get to God as He is, who He is, He decides and He tells us who He is who He says that He is. That's the product, is the Spirit of God that we feel. And we could say the brand, hear me correct, is more metaphoric, than literal with what I'm saying here, but it's literal in a sense. The product is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like the building here. Okay. But the brand, the company, the people behind it are the members. But this building is beautiful. This building is what we could say, hear me correct on why I'm saying this, and I get the surrounding sounds. It is what it is. We could say this is a 10-year building. This building is like a 10-year item of clothing, meaning something that lasts a long time, okay? That's what I'm saying with clothing being something that could last 10 years. No matter what brand it is, we're actually focusing right now on the product behind the brand, or the product in front of the brand's behind, the company or the community that's behind the product they're making. We're actually focusing on the product here in this video, in this podcast episode. Because no matter who comes to this church building, you've got people moving in, people moving out of the area. And that's how the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is structured, is we have a lot of buildings so that you have the people that live near the building come to the building, so you know each other and you have a community of people you're actually living near that you go to church with. And so as the community changes, even let's say just time goes by, and this becomes a 100-year building, and all the people that were coming here 100 years ago have died, but the building's still here, the product is still good. And so you've got all the new community, or all the new company of people, right? We come here and we are around good company. We talk about the literal wording of things often under In The Image Clothing Company, because another name for God is the Word, right? The truth, the life, the way, the Prince of Peace. We could say all these kind of different names. There's so many names, basically unlimited amounts of names for God as He is, Jesus Christ, right? The universe has a name, and Jesus Christ is God. Those are 2 episode titles of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, kind of explaining what I'm saying there, where, man, awesome. Anyway, yeah, we bring people here to the church, but the church is like the product. When we have any human being in any generation wearing an item of clothing that was designed and made like 30 years ago, it's probably a pretty well timeless design of just a good product that we can use because it's needed. We just need t-shirts. When we discuss clothing, how it's necessary under In The Image Clothing Company, that's what I'm saying about, just making it clear it's not about fashion, nor has it ever been or will be under In The Image Clothing Company. The wind noise. Another episode title of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. The wind noise. It's windy, I get it. I'm trying to block it out a little bit with this without, trying too hard, if you see what I'm saying. Okay. But it's a t-shirt that I'm using to block the wind. There you go. Clothing is needed. It's necessary for a lot of ways. It keeps us safe from the elements, and it keeps us modest, and all sorts of things. But if we just have a 10-year product, and 10 years is just a number of years to explain quite a good amount of time, something that lasts a pretty long time, then you've got something that you can just use, just having clothing that isn't outdateable, okay? Stuff that doesn't get outdated because, not only have I discussed that, sure, it's something that shouldn't get outdated, like design-wise, for 10 years, In The Image Clothing Company clothing. This is our intent behind the clothing we'll always be producing. But ideally, we could have clothing that physically actually lasts for about 10 years. Again, no guarantee, but that's the intent, just having good quality things that just keep working for you for a long time. Because, if you're someone like me, I'm the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. I'm very simplistic and minimal. And so I'll get something that's really good quality, and I'll have it for a long time. I only need what I need, and as long as it's still working for all the things that I need it to work for, anything that it is in life, then there you go, And there's times to get new things and reasons, for sure, but a lot of people just don't really care about what they wear as far as, like, trying to dress a certain way visually, like style or, fashion. But they just need a good t-shirt to get them through the day, Or they just need, something to keep them warm. Or some good pants, they can do just about everything in. We talk about In The Image Clothing Company clothing will always be just do everything clothing. You can do everything in it you could possibly do in it. With our slogan being allowing the body to work, you've got to be able to do everything you do in life within your clothing. Otherwise, if your clothing's not allowing your body to work and you try to go do something and you feel like you need to change your clothes first, well, that's not really ideal. That's the point. Is our intent is to have our clothing be something you can go work in the fields all day in your agriculture, or you could also wear it to wherever. I could give all the examples, but it also depends on, like, what it is. If it's shorts, or if it's long pants, or if it's a long sleeve shirt, or a short sleeve shirt. If it's a button up, or if it's a t-shirt, and, any kind of women's clothing, unisex clothing where it is and stuff. But just meaning, ideally your clothing isn't ever restricting you or your lifestyle physically, but also just, clothing that stays centered, fits correct, and is made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, the baseline things clothing has to be, with the center line of the body, joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts, and then just matter not being able to be created or destroyed, and there's always only natural that exists. Even our bodies, we are what we eat, and then after we die, we turn back into the earth, just natural things only. Unnatural is only just taken from natural, and it's not even its own word. It's unnatural, it's natural undone, Always decomposes back to natural anyway, so. With clothing like this, though, just clothing proper on the body, you should be able to do just about everything ever in life if your clothing is just working for your body, so your body can do your life, Our physical bodies are what determine this physical life. Clothing is the only thing physically placed on our bodies. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. It's mathematically measurable. Measurable degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations within the human being determined by the shape and length of the bones, right? In The Image Clothing Company, this is what we discuss. This is, not our information, it's God's truth, but this is the information we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company. This is what we are, is these things. The anatomy of the human body, right? How to allow it to work, and just having some clothing that we could call 10-year clothing. I've seen it, is the point, personally, and that's what we're going for with our designs always. You'll have hand-me-down clothing where, a dad wears a shirt, then the kid wears the shirt, and then that person's kid wears the shirt. Like 3 generations, just a cotton t-shirt gets worn, and it still works great. That's what I'm saying about 10-year clothing. And anyway, I can discuss this partially, how I was earlier. How I was starting to discuss it earlier is what I'm saying. I was partially saying it already earlier. Our information, our videos, the things we do under In The Image Clothing Company, just the date mark documentations, it's just kind of like journal entries. These things are 10-year products, if you will. This episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, episode 205, it's a 10-year product. Now, it's an infinite amount of year product as long as it, has just the ability to get access to it. It's like the church here. You could call it a 10-year church. We could call it as long as it stands until the physical building actually, falls apart, if. Again, 10 years, just it's the metaphor in this case. And I'm saying at least 10 years or somewhere around there. Just there's not a lot of things in our world, the man-made world part of God's natural earth that last 10 years, especially not in modern day. You've got so many cheap products, and again, all these unnatural materials things are being made out of. We just live in a society where no matter what part of the earth you're on, you might have like a scarcity access to certain things. Like maybe you don't have access to all that many things. But as far as just in general, when it comes to understanding the products that are being made, we have an abundance of clothing just across the earth, broad spread where we do. But as far as those that are manufacturing clothing, people are just pumping so many products out. And then not just clothing, but if we're just talking about products that we make as human beings, we just have so much nowadays that's just getting made and made and made, just mass produced, because we've got technology and robots and unnatural things that you can just pour things into a mold and make it so quick, within seconds, that you would have had to whittle out of wood in the past, and then it would take you a half a day or longer, to make the same type of thing just with natural materials versus these unnatural materials. Shout out to the little outhouse behind me. Right. It is what it is. I'm not trying to mock people or things, and sometimes it's actually just convenient to the point where it makes sense. We just talk about, times and places. It makes sense, to use unnatural materials in ways, in times, if, just with intentionality behind everything we do as a human being. Certainly. There's things that I appreciate being what they are, even when they're unnatural materials. It is what it is. We're human beings. We're just doing what we're doing. It's about intentionality. That's the thing we always come back to. Any choice we have as a human being, which is what God has given us, is the ability to choose. It's always just about intentionality with our choices, right? Not that things are just always bad or always good or always right or always wrong. It's just got to be seen with context. We got to pray to God. That's the thing, is God will give us commandments to not kill, but then he'll give certain people individual specific commandments to kill. The scriptural, references, that's not me saying something, that's the truth. It's, documented records of past human beings. It is what it is. So, I'm saying all that to say that, wow, yeah, a lot of products just don't last. That's the thing with these unnatural materials and just the way that people go about making things so cheap nowadays, because the more product they can pump out and make as quick as they can, the more they can sell, the more money they make. But then those products a lot of time have the value lost through the process along the way, and so then you've got stuff that's just cheaply made and breaks and doesn't last. 10-year clothing. Episode 204 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast here. +1, it's actually episode 205. That's what I'm saying. I've been discussing, because I just talk about each of the 4 sides of In The Image Clothing Company where I do, on the other 3 sides, right? So I'm making videos under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, let's say, and I'll say, check out In The Image Clothing Company podcast. As of today's date, we're on, and then I'll say the episode number. I've been discussing that we're on episode 204 for 3 months or something. However long it's been, it's date marked, whatever date I made episode 204 on, but we've done a lot since then on the other sides of In the Image Clothing Company. So I'm just saying that, doing all we can to have things just last a long time. There's two sides to it, at least that I want to really make sure and hit on in this episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, for the reason I'm making it, for the documentation of what I'm saying as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, okay? One side of this, certainly at least these two sides or two parts to this, more parts to it, if you will, but quality. Ideally, quality that we could say should, if you take care of it, and maybe don't wear it every single day, right? But have an item of clothing from In the Image Clothing Company. I mean, that's our focus. It should last like 10 years. No guarantee, but this is our focus of what we're trying to have be the case behind our construction of our designs, if you will, and the materials we use, and just really the focus we have. Like I was just talking about intentionality, us being intentional with it when it comes to, quality assurance and making sure we do all that we can to just have good quality products going out, check things before we ship them out. And, the team will just be some really good people. As I say, God-fearing, poodle-loving, nature-loving human beings. Good people under In the Image Clothing Company's team. I mean, we're doing this geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ. You've got to remember this. And so who we hire on the team will always be who we hire on the team, if you see what I'm saying. Just meaning we're going to be pretty darn picky, of who our team members will be always for the entire life of In the Image Clothing Company. We've got to uphold the reason why we are who and what we are and how we're able to even exist as human beings at all. It's in our company name. We're designed in the image of God. So we're a clothing company to allow the body that's designed in the image of God to continue to work, right? Allowing the body to work. In the Image Clothing Company's main side slogan. And the reason we're a clothing company, okay, because we do so much more, okay, than just clothing, just to be very clear. And I have been. We're on episode 205 of a podcast about the gospel of Jesus Christ under a clothing company's name, where really the focus is the anatomy of the human body. It's like, what? Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and only to further and progress and expand as time progresses and expands and furthers as well. Okay, anyway, what I'm saying really, truly, actually is that this is awesome, and I'm going to keep talking about it as long as I do. Give some more context, because, yeah, so, quality, okay? Quality is a big deal. Quality assurance is always going to be a high priority under In the Image Clothing Company, because we'll have products, where we do human being clothing, dog products, and whatever else we branch out into product-wise, as I've discussed it. That's how I've worded it and said it, because it is what it is. It's about allowing the body to work. So anything that really aligns with that and makes sense for us to have, keeping it as natural as we possibly can with the materials, and just like, ethically for the environment. That's a big focus too, just the environment, right? Under In the Image Clothing Company, of the planet Earth, that kind of environment, right? There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled For the Planet. We just discuss the Earth, and we do things in nature, in-person events, and a lot of things like this down in the Mojave Desert here in St. George, Utah, and wherever else we go, but Utah specifically, right? In the United States of America, the state of Utah, in St. George, Utah, is where our building will be, like I'm saying. And so taking care of what's around us, a lot of this is coming through our physical products that we will have available, and our packaging, keeping that minimal and as natural as we can, and decomposable or recyclable, in all the ways we can. But what I'm saying with the 10-year part of it is, just the quality assurance behind us shipping out our products. We want to, we not only want to, we will, and I'll make sure the team does, and we'll have this all set up well, once we get it set up, as far as how the team is structured, and our building, and how we just make things really streamlined and efficient, simple, minimal, quality assurance. That's a big thing to be able to have something we could call 10-year clothing. But also just the timelessness of the design. The gospel of Jesus Christ, it's never outdated. Like I'm saying with these actual physical products, I'm looking at certain just clothing designs. I was thinking about, you've got these shoes, something like, Nike. Again, it's not necessarily about me picking any certain specific brand in this for any specific reason other than, there's some really commonly worn designs that actually do last a long time. Their quality, these Air Force One shoes by Nike, or just some simple Nike shoes, or simple Adidas shoes, and the design is simple, is what I'm saying by simple. You look at things from the 90s, even back into the 80s, 1990s or 80s, like 30, 40 years ago from 2026 now, right? The 31st of May today. And then they'll be making the same kind of products today in modern day as well. And that's what I'm saying, is things like that just last that long. That's what we're looking for, because why I'm saying certain brands, let me talk about what I'm really saying here. Meaning, let me give some context on this as it is. A lot of times people don't like name brands, especially people who are very simple, minimal, I get the surrounding sounds, right? I understand, but I'm one of those people as well. I mean, I debrand at least the exterior, right, of most everything that I have, at least as of now. I mean, even this fanny pack, like you couldn't tell what this was unless you knew. It used to have branding on it, and I take this fanny pack with me just about everywhere. Kind of dirty on the bottom, as but yeah, I mean, we're out here in the Mojave Desert. I mean, seriously, I take it basically everywhere. I don't put things in my pockets. It'll alter your hips, truly, and then your whole body, to the tips of your toes, the tip of your head, the tips of your fingers. To allow your body to work, you just can't put things in your pockets. It's just a physical thing in the way. Anyway, I'm just saying this fanny pack has been great, and that's another part of what I'm saying when I discuss whatever products we branch out into as time progresses under In the Image Clothing Company. Things like fanny packs, ways to hold water, all sorts of dog products. When I say all sorts, I mean there's all sorts of dog products that might make sense for us to make as In the Image Clothing Company. And then whatever else it is too, even things you could use in your house or whatever. I mean, right? A clothing company, but really just allowing the body to work, In the Image Clothing Company. There's a lot of different ways we approach that. Just many different sides to the body, because we do things in life. We drink things to stay hydrated. We eat things to stay fueled. We wear things to keep our bodies clothed. But then, shoelaces, drawstrings, things like fanny packs or some kind of bag, not only for women like purses, but for men too. I mean, you don't want to put things in your pockets. You need some way to carry things, unless it's all in your hands, So this is what I mean with 10-year clothing, is just 10-year products in general. And I get the sounds, I get the surrounding sounds. In the Image Clothing Company podcast is set apart. Usually it's the side that's the most quiet. But welcome to the Mojave Desert. But the sounds are mostly just cars right now. Oh man, Dante and I saw a Sidewinder rattlesnake yesterday. I think it was beautiful. That was yesterday, yeah. So beautiful. We've seen all sorts of snakes and lizards and just so many animals, cottontail rabbits. And it's just, you're in the desert down here. I mean, they're all over the place. There's animals all over the world, where there is, all over the earth, but I love it here so much. Anyway, 10-year clothing, okay? What am I saying? I'm saying that here comes the wind noise again. Oh my goodness, there's a dove. Yeah, you saw that, if you saw that. A lot of doves down here. So many animals. I just love the animals. Turtles, tortoises. I moved a turtle off the golf course the other day. A red-eared slider. I just picked it up and moved it off the golf course because it was in the middle of the golf course hours being open. And there was a pond, right, that it came out from. But I love it, man. It is what it is. Excuse me. Surrounding sounds. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. It's as if you're actually here with us. So, 10-year clothing, okay? Designs. What makes these big name brands, a lot of the time, actually, is that they really do have timeless designs and quality products, okay? Sometimes that's not the case. Darn wind. Start cussing at it. Talk about all this beautiful, lighthearted stuff. I'm sitting here at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints building, and all of a sudden I cuss out the wind. I might. It's been so much to go through, man. Like I'm saying, getting all these videos out. Dante and I have been homeless. Like I'm saying, context to come. We'll document what we do, just going forth as we do, date market, and just keep building. Just another break in the building of In The Image Clothing Company every time that we do anything we do, okay, for it, under our 5-word company name. For any of the 4 sides. Man, this noise, though, it's kind of killing me. It's actually, making me pretty upset, honestly. I'm about to start cussing at it. I don't want to move this more than I need to, but if I can block out some more sound, that'd be great. Surrounding sounds, Anyway. Man, back to the podcast. That's what I mean. It's just so awesome. Just sit here and talk, and it doesn't have to go smoothly necessarily or anything. It's just about doing it. Just about documenting. Sit down and say what I feel like I need to. It's my podcast, if you will. It's funny though to say it like that. Yeah, it's about God though, truly, because we are trying to be disciples of Jesus Christ in all of our lives as disciples of Jesus Christ, meaning all ways, in all places, and all the things we do. And I turn around and cuss the wind out and scream so loud the neighbors shoot me with a blow dart over the fence, right? Anyway, what was I talking about? Being a good Christian? What I mean is, as I've said since the founding of In The Image Clothing Company, the point of our clothing isn't... I couldn't make it up, You start talking about it and it gets louder. I say this. I talk about it while it's happening, Start talking about the wind noise and it gets louder. Start talking about the surrounding sounds and all of a sudden you've got an elephant crashing through the palm trees. And it's like, what the? Welcome to India. We're still in St. George, Utah. Yeah, that hasn't happened, but things like that, Seriously. Yeah, anyway. It's not about the clothing. It's not about the designs. Otherwise, we'd have the focus be fashion. But it's about our bodies being able to work, and people notice that. I mean, you notice it. You notice it with me. I can use myself as an example because I do all I can to allow my body to work. As the founder of The Image Clothing Company, I preach what I have practiced in all the ways I can do that. So, yeah, you notice it. When I stand, when I walk, just in life though in general, my body works differently than most everyone else's around me because I'm very intentional to allow my body to have all its full range of motion all the time. And the only way you can do that is whatever you physically place on your body can't be restricting your body. Or it'll restrict your body. And you won't have full range of motion in your body because your full range of motion is partially there if all of it is somewhat restricted. My level of intelligence blows me out of the water. The only way that could happen is if it's something I couldn't take credit for, right? But that's what I'm saying. It shocks me the way that I speak sometimes. I love it. I love the podcast. I love it. We're back to it. Just meaning here's another episode. Okay. In the Image Clothing Company Podcast 205. 31st of May, 2026. 10-year clothing. Because, yeah, if we have our clothing just kind of fit on our bodies proper... meaning fit on our bodies really well, then our bodies are the focus. Our clothing isn't. You get lost in the branding. You get lost in the designs. And I've talked about it. Our clothing will be brandless on the exterior. We'll do some cool things on the inside. Seriously. It's what's on the inside that counts. And I'm not joking about it. That's the point. That's why. That's what I'm saying here, But yeah, 10-year clothing. I mean, a lot of times you have so many designs... And the design themselves, the design itself, what's placed onto the clothing or written onto the clothing, ironed onto the clothing, sewn onto the clothing, stitched onto the clothing in any kind of way, whatever it could possibly be like that. A lot of times that stuff is what's temporary. A lot of times that's the type of stuff that people sell though. And they put so much less focus on the actual design of the item of clothing, like physically, tangibly the design of the fabric, and more focus on just what they're going to put onto it, like a heat shrunk on or sewn on kind of like saying or image or logo or slogan or whatever. And that's just not our approach. And that's what I'm saying. That's one of the big things that makes it 10-year clothing or makes it be able to possibly be In The Image Clothing Company clothing or any of our products at all in general. Brandless on the exterior in all the ways we can. Certain products, we'll put our branding where we do, but clothing... Well, we're going to do what we can to always have it be only on the inside. Because it's not about the brand, it's about the body. It's about the gift from God, right? The only thing that we have. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company, the human body, though, is what it is. Well, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, specifically. Yeah, right? So the clothing just covers our bodies. The focus is our bodies. And so to have 10-year clothing, you can't have clothing that's conditional to a time period's fashion. See what I mean? It's not about that anyway, but that's what I'm saying. I'm just making it clear. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, why we're really doing this in the first place, because that's huge. You know, let me touch on these brands again. And like I'm saying, I could talk about any brand that this type of approach is the case with, or any design from any brand that it was or is where it is the case with. But things like these shoes, you know, like Nike shoes or Adidas shoes, I say those two specifically because it's been decades. Those are a couple of the most common shoes to wear. And you'll just have this like simple design of like a leather high top with just a Nike swoosh on it. Okay? Or you'll have this simple design of just like some low cut, like soccer shoe. You know, like soccer type shoe, like a flat shoe with just 3 stripes. It's the Adidas logo. And it's just something that's just so simple. A lot of times they're leather, which is great, you know. And those are timeless designs, fairly timeless. I mean, pretty well timeless designs, and that's why people like them, is because they can go with anything else you're wearing, because it's just a good pair of shoes if it is, you know. Again, I'm not necessarily talking about specific brands, but to give context on what I am seeing, so you can see what I'm seeing or saying here. Ideally both, because I see it, and so let me talk about it, you know. You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying what I'm seeing. I've seen it a lot, though. Yeah. Certain things, you know, like a brand of a shirt, and the thing is, like I'm saying, it's the simplicity, you know, just a simple logo and then a good design of a shoe. A simple little logo and a good design of a shirt. These are the things that you see in shirts or shoes, pants, hats, whatever it is, though, any item of clothing, but even like cars, vehicles, or whatever it is, even designs of houses, actually. I just mean anything. That's why I'm saying, to be clear, I'm not focusing on any specific brands, not even any specific type of item of clothing, but just things in life, like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because it's the gospel of Jesus Christ, the everlasting gospel is what we call it. It's eternal. God's perfect. He lasts forever. He is the truth, which is on either end of always, right? Anyway, the only way we can have eternal life is through Jesus Christ. It's something that's permanent. That's why it lasts. That's why it's growing so fast too. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You know, and you notice, I mean, it's voluntary. I mean, there's no kind of like pressure that we, you know, for anyone to join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's all voluntary, and so it must be good, you know. I'll tell you personally it is, but just don't believe me, right? Let's find out the truth no matter who's delivering it. And that's what I'm saying, is you've got these certain designs of products just in life, and a lot of times what it is that does last so long is something that has just a really small little logo. A little tiny Champion logo on a really good cotton sweatshirt. Who knows that if you know that around this time period? That's what I'm saying. It's been decades that you'll see this. From this point back, at least, as of now, you know, 2026. 31st of May, today's date. But yeah, I mean, and there's all sorts of other brands we could discuss that are like this in ways, you know, Hanes, Fruit of the Loom. It's so funny, I talk about how I don't talk about other brands, and here I am just like mentioning very specific brands. Oh yeah, you know, good context, because yeah, some people are making some really quality products. No matter what the brand is, you know, it's about, is it quality or not, for the sake of this discussion. I mean, yeah, just the big focus with what I'm saying with a lot of that is how small the logos are on a lot of these things. It's not really about the name brand, but it's about, you know, the company's name, and they make some good products. You know, a lot of times these big name brands that people go so crazy over for the name of the brand, they don't really make quality products, and they don't really have that long of lasting. Here comes the wind, as I'm saying real stuff. You see what I mean? You know, longevity. I mean, they just don't. A lot of times, these name brands that people are so after, a lot of the time, it's a very conditional time period that's the case, right? But you've got certain things that just last a long time. So, In the Image Clothing Company. Remember the name. Seriously, and I've talked about that, how I very intentionally, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, I say our company name, just our 5-word company name, no spaces between the 5 words. I say it so often when I'm making videos, and that's all, if you will, we are tangibly, like, that we have done, really, in ways. I don't want to diminish what we have done, but I'm talking like well over 1,000, well over 1,000 videos as of today's date under In the Image Clothing Company. But meaning all that we are so far really is video until we get other products and things like that to go forth, and our team and our building and other things that we could say we have tangibly done. As far as now, it's just video. But I just say our company name so much because that's the point, is to remember the name. And that's the thing is you hear the brand name of some of these name brands. And again, not to say any specific brand name for any certain reason other than the reasons I'm saying them in this episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And there you go, right? Saying our company name often so it's remembered. You hear the name Nike, and you know what it is around this time period. If you're a kid, if you're an adult, if you're whoever, you're into clothing or you're not or whatever, almost everyone knows what Nike is. I mean, just about everyone, really, in like most parts of the earth at least. Or you hear Champion, or you hear Adidas, or you hear Hanes. Those are some of the big ones, and then you can get into like the more high-end name brand things like women's bags and designer things. But that's what I'm saying is these brands that I'm saying, they're not like really high-end, expensive, exclusive brands. Not really, and I could talk about any brand, whatever, but I'm just saying for context because, yeah, people know the name, they remember it, and the reason it lasts is because they've got a specific approach. Simple, good products. They know what they're doing. They've got time behind them. That builds credibility. And there's quality there. 10-year clothing. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the thing is, if people know the 5-word company name, In the Image Clothing Company, and know that we make quality stuff, my heavens. Talk about the wind noise, just so it'll show up. I couldn't make it up. There you go. Oh, my heavens. I said it twice. Oh, my heavens. Wow. You claim to know what you're doing, Evan Strong? I'm not trying to claim anything, actually. But I do know what I'm talking about with the things that I discuss. Most of the time. Right? Otherwise, I'm not saying much, usually. So, yeah, just about ever. What I am saying, though, is 10-year clothing. Who do you want in life, right? I mean, do you want a 10-year wife? Or do you want a one-night stand? It depends on who you ask, but again, 10 years doesn't necessarily have to mean exactly 10 years, just meaning a long time. In Scripture, it's a lot of metaphoric stuff, Scripture was brought from other languages before it was translated into English. The Holy Bible, it was in Greek and Hebrew, whatever else. If the Book of Mormon, it was in Reformed Egyptian. But a lot of these things, like the Jews, in Judaism, a lot of that Hebrew text from the Holy Bible, they talk about things being for the length of an hour. and it was not actually like 60 minutes, but it's a metaphor of just a certain amount of time. The way they discussed like half a day, for example. I don't know if that's the same amount of time as them saying a length of an hour. But like just all the timing in scripture, a lot of it's just metaphoric. Like, you notice how many times it talks about 40s, the numbers, the Israelites in the desert for 40 years. Yeah, Jesus Christ, being tempted 40 days and 40 nights, or fasting 40 days and 40 nights, whatever it was exactly. Don't believe me. Read the text, though. That's what I'm saying. Here comes the wind. Okay. That's what I'm talking about with this 10-year idea. Just meaning the discussion of why I'm using that explanation is just something that lasts a long time. It's like, do you want... Because, yeah, it's not just about clothing. I mean, we're in the Image Clothing Company. We just have a well-rounded approach to life is our goal. Okay? Clothing's just part of it. It's just the only thing physically placed on our bodies so our physical bodies can go through life. Right? And do you want someone that's going to be there with you for your entire life, as a wife, for example, or as a husband for those women out there? Wife for the men? Hear me correct. Don't come after me. God sets the parameters. Also, there's only one way children can be made. But yeah. Do you want that person to be there with you for life? Or do you just want them there for a time? 10-year wife, a lifelong wife, or someone who's going to leave after a while when you love them and you want them to be there forever. That's what I'm saying. Like, products that you love so much, you want to have them for a long time, as long as you could, really. I mean, you just think about things that were made out of steel and aluminum in the past. A lot of things are made out of aluminum nowadays, too, but before plastic was invented, I mean, plastic only started to be used, like, a lot in the 1900s. I mean, I'm talking like 70 to 120 years ago, give or take, and don't quote me on exact dates, but like the mid-1900s into the late 1900s, they started to really use plastic. Before then, they just really didn't use it much, and hear what I'm really saying with that, seen with context. But yes, I'm just thinking about like a canteen, like a container to hold water from, like the military. It's just like an iconic thing, You make one of those out of metal and it could last you your entire life. But nowadays you see plastic water bottles just all over the ground and garbage cans. They're everywhere. Disposable, but not really decomposable, so... Right. That's what I'm saying, 10-year clothing versus something that's just for a time. A lifelong product versus something you'll have to maybe replace in a couple weeks. Or whatever it is, but right, short amount of time. A relative 5 minutes, if you will. I like that. You see what I mean? Like 5 minutes later, it seems like you need something new when you wish it would last for your whole life. Well, when I say wish, I just mean like it'd be great if something could have the quality to last you forever, or 10 years, right? I feel like there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast that's similar to this, like with a similar approach to the discussion of what I'm saying. That's fine because this is certainly different, but we've talked about things like this before, is what I'm saying. We have themes, I mean, life has themes, and that's the thing is, we just want things to last. And so many things are just so temporary nowadays. And when it comes to the actual tangible physical products we purchase, I mean, just to take care of the environment as one of the things, if nothing else, like, just the amount of things that are so disposable nowadays that just last that like relative 5 minutes, and you throw it away. Unnatural materials is almost always coming with that, But either way, just like the quality is not there in so many things in modern day. And so just having some 10-year clothing, I mean, that's really the goal. Having a 10-year life, everything you do in life, if you can just have it be something that really lasts a long time. Everything you say, have it be something that's got some real meaning behind it. Right? All the things you do, ideally do things that actually have a purpose, that's like a real solid reason for doing them. If you can. You only have this one life, in this one life. There you go, right? You see what I mean? It only is what it is, and so having some 10-year clothing is really the focus here under In the Image Clothing Company, right? So Anyway, I guess that was kind of mostly all of what I was praying about to God there. I mean, it's weird because it's just been weird. In the past little while here, I'm just, praying through life, and we just do things if and where we do them. Meaning, we'll have In the Image Clothing Company podcast for at least the life of Evan Strong, and, however many we do, where we do. But we were filming episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast just about every single day for a while. And then now it's been literally months since the last one. But we've been doing a lot too, besides this is what I'm saying, for In the Image Clothing Company specifically. So it's good. We've been building. We've had some more people. Yeah, we'll talk about it as we do going forth. But yeah, right. We're building certainly as In the Image Clothing Company, and that's the point of how that's going to happen. Is doing all we can to have it be permanent. And so, yeah, that 10-year approach with products. It's literally, products, as in that's a literal explanation of what our products are going to be trying coming from the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. That's going to always be our approach under In the Image Clothing Company for any product we ever made or make at all under our 5-word company name, is something that could ideally last for 10 years. If you're doing what you can to take care of it, being intentional with it on your end, and we are going to be doing all that we can to be intentional with the quality assurance on our end, and not only just the quality assurance of how it's put together, but the materials before it actually gets put together, where we get the materials from, where we're sourcing the materials, and how we choose what, like cotton or whatever we make our clothing out of, and like I'm saying, any sort of product we could possibly produce, if you will, under In the Image Clothing Company. It's just always going to be the approach to have things last as long as we can, because that's what I'm saying is there are different sides to it. You can mass produce things really quickly, really cheaply, monetary value wise cheap, like the actual expense that it costs you to make something, but also quality wise cheap. Those things usually come hand in hand at that point. If you're just trying to make a lot of products quickly, you sell them for a cheap price because you made them for a cheap price, but then there's usually a cheap quality. So under In the Image Clothing Company, the focus always, well, I can say has been, even though we haven't had any products available yet as of today's date, the 31st of May, 2026, but it always will be, quality, and so, things might cost whatever they cost. There you go. I'll say it like that. Just, right? But because, yeah, and whatever they do cost is what they cost. Do you see what I'm saying? This guy does. But the reason I say it like that is just because that's how we're going to stay credible. Because sure, we can make some really cheaply made stuff that just doesn't last very long, that still allows your body to work while it's there, but then it just doesn't last. The product actually wears out. Do you see what I mean? You can kind of have two different sides to the approach of quality. You can make something that's a really beautiful design as far as what it does. So the quality behind the intentionality of how it was designed is there, okay? But the actual physical durability quality isn't very good. Or you could make something that's really durable, but it's just not the best design for what it is, for why you'd use it, right? So it's good, durable, physical quality, lasts for a long time, but you don't really use it very much because the quality of aligning with why you'd get it doesn't really mesh, right? There's a lot to this. That's what I'm saying. And this is where the thoughts are behind In the Image Clothing Company. That's what I mean. I'm the founder, okay? And it's things like this. Oh, that's a beautiful explanation, actually. To explain what I'm saying with this is, it's like the surrounding sounds here. It's like you could say this is not a very high quality podcast episode audio wise because he doesn't have a microphone that silences out all the cars that are driving by. But, I'd say, hey, Dante? Dante? Hi. He was like seizing. He was just asleep. He was just dreaming. I was just making sure he wasn't actually having a real seizure. Because he was seriously jerking. His whole body was, like his nerves, right? Anyway, I'd say personally, and I'm the one speaking it, but quality-wise is in the quality of information behind what we're documenting, or you could say producing, but it's the same thing with how we do it here through these videos like this under In The Image Clothing Company. I'd personally, and it would be self-proclaimed, and it is here with me saying this, but I'd say that there's a lot of quality in what we're delivering here. The depth of discussion of things and the validity behind the information we give. And so that's the thing with this 10-year clothing understanding, right? This episode of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, 205, okay, on the 31st of May, 2026, today's date. There's different sides to this, because truth is truth. And so truth is always this, like, long-lasting, we could say, 10-year thing. 10-year could be meaning eternity, years, okay, forever, really, right? And that's quality information because it lasts forever. But maybe the way that somebody delivers it to you wasn't really the best quality, if you can see what I'm saying. There's a lot of different ways we can understand what I'm saying here. And as I do say, a lot of what we discuss under In The Image Clothing Company podcast specifically, but wherever we do under In The Image Clothing Company, and then just me speaking in life, the way that we discuss things, and this is in a lot of Judaism too. I mean, we're Christians, we're disciples of Jesus Christ here under In The Image Clothing Company because we are, okay, because we are, because that's what we're founded upon, and that's just the truth of life. Hear me correct with what I'm saying, though, here about Judaism is, well, yeah, there's a lot of metaphor in Judaism where a lot of times they're discussing things just to deepen their understanding of something. Well, I mean, in Christianity too, but I just know specifically in Judaism, there's so much like metaphoric talk. I mean, the way that Jews look at the world, let me just speak for Jews when I am not one, okay? I don't really have the right to do that, but I have the right to do whatever I want. Consequences always come. What I'm saying is, yeah, Jews look at the world so differently. Everything's a metaphor to Judaism, right? And there's different sects of Judaism, and I don't know more than I know about it, but I'm saying this to give context because, yeah, it's just like somebody who looks at something they know a lot about and a lot of depth to, and they look at it completely different than someone else who's never seen the thing. Why I'm saying that right now, other than just giving context, which actually feeds into why I'm saying that, is because me personally, Evan Strong, as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, a lot of what I discuss here under specifically In The Image Clothing Company podcast is just for the sake of discussion, to get us to think deeper, to get us to have an unpacking that happens of what is going on here, of a topic, of the title. I mean, you'll notice the intentionality, as I say, the intentional titling of In The Image Clothing Company content, right? The title of this episode, podcast episode here, 205 of In The Image Clothing Company podcast, there's our company name again, right? Again, intentional. But it's 10-year clothing. Because then we can have this whole discussion unpacking this understanding of 10-year clothing. And if you're someone that had no idea what I meant by the title, you're like, you spent that long sitting there talking about clothing? And what's the 10-year part about it? But then we unpack this as it is, and that's what I'm saying. There's so much metaphor in, well, just life. If you look at it deeply, there's so much more to life than a lot of times we see if we're not looking at life intentionally, intently, deeply, and trying to find really the meaning of life. I mean, that's the point, is we all have this life. We're all the same thing, just a human being placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It only is what it is, as I discuss, In the Image Clothing Company podcast, that's what we do. We discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so that's what I'm saying. A lot of times we discuss things just to discuss things. Because as we discuss things, just to see how deeply we can discuss things, if you will, and there's intentional reasons why we choose what we choose to discuss, but it can teach us how to really deepen our understandings of what anything is. If you look at anything and really just try to unpack it to see all of what it is, and anything means, zoom out and just life in general. That's what I'm saying. So 10-year clothing, it's not just clothing. It's just understandings, it's information, it's truth, it's physical products in life, it's relationships, anything that lasts a long time. And then the quality on either end of how we could discuss there's quality to or in things, or the approach of having things be quality or not, and what that means. Welcome to the depths of the discussions that we have under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. This is the point. This is what it really means to discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ, is take life and find out what it is. The gospel of Jesus Christ, we discuss it as the truth of all things. So that's what I'm saying. You take something as it is, and you might just look at it as at face value, meaning just surface level, look at it and you think that's all it is. And a lot of times that's a good way to look at things. It is. But even that in itself, we could unpack and get into deep context on what I mean, because there's the other side to it, if you will. If it's another side, you can look at something and you can really, really, really dive into what it is, and it's like a completely different thing than you ever thought it was, but you looked at it at face value, exactly what it was at first, but you didn't realize how much was really there that you could unpack from inside. And so 10-year clothing, what does that even mean? Well, it depends. Which part of the episode are you talking about, because I talked about a lot. You see what I mean? We're back, dude. Again, when I say we're back, I don't know, maybe I don't film another In the Image Clothing Company podcast episode until I'm like 34 years old. Who knows? I don't, but God does. That's what I'm saying. 10-year clothing. A lot of times you have no idea what you're going to design. You make something and you might think it'll last for a little while and it seems really great, but you have no idea it's going to become something that people are using or doing for like 30, 40 years, or 100 years, or 500 years. 10 years could be just a metaphor for a long time. Like I'm saying, it could be forever. You make some kind of design of something. Think about the modern t-shirt design. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't be tweaked in ways, but I am saying just about every t-shirt across the entire earth is just about the exact same. There's a couple different designs that are extremely common, and then from there you've got like any other design just like getting slipped through the cracks of existence. It's like it's not even there. That's what I'm saying. Not that these are like the most ideal designs, just the modern t-shirt as it is. It's very simplistic. A lot of times you've got collar seams, you've got rotated seams, you've got tags in places, you've got sleeves too long or shirt tails too long or whatever, and just random proportions or huge baggy collars. There's a lot of things that are really, different where they are, but so many of the modern t-shirts are just about the exact same thing. When I say just about, it is. It's the same baseline t-shirt, and then you got people's logos slapped on it. Okay? So this is what I mean is, whoever made this kind of design, not saying necessarily it's the most ideal or whatever, but just like the t-shirt I'm wearing, just a very simple, basic, plain colored t-shirt in modern 2026, just like this. No collar seams, no rotations in the seams, no side seams even, which is the ideal, right? Against our bodies, ideally no side seams against the rib cage, because it expands and contracts in 360 degrees if it's not altered. I told you there's depth to this. Don't believe me though, right? But stick around and find out. I filmed a video yesterday, took a snippet from it, placed it under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled "Stick Around and Find Out." If I know what I'm talking about, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, when I say there's only one way the human body could ever work. And if you stick around, you'll find out that I know what I'm talking about. Okay? But these modern t-shirt designs, whoever put this together first, whenever that was, because t-shirts weren't made like this in the past, there wasn't even machines to be able to possibly do this kind of stitching. Now, you could probably do it by hand, but it would take you all day long. You wouldn't do that. if you didn't have a machine to do it, you wouldn't do these like traditional, when I say traditional, I mean so commonly done nowadays, double stitched t-shirt designs in 2026. Like, you wouldn't be doing that at all. There's no possible way. Well, I mean, that's too blanket statement. Yeah, that's not quite the truth. I just mean there's no way, really. I mean, just about no way anyone would ever choose to just. People aren't going to be stitching clothing the way they're stitching clothing nowadays, unless there was robots that could do it like that. But whoever made this t-shirt design that's just so common in modern 2026, just the baseline t-shirt design, they might have had no idea that that was going to be what almost every single shirt is. And then people just throw their company logo on it, you know? Like, for however long it's been, tens of years or whatever. That's what I mean. You make something and you might not even know it's going to be a 10-year thing. 10-year clothing. I mean, even music. We're talking about In The Image Clothing Company music, where we do, you know, one of our fourths. We just make music, and the thing is, you just make it authentic. You make it how you make it, and you might have no idea. Like, a lot of these people had no idea. They make one song, and it becomes one of those one-hit wonder type things, you know, and maybe they don't even really ever make another song, and they kind of just did it for fun, but then it becomes like the top song across like the country or across most of the world at the time or whatever, you know. I mean, that happens. That's happened so many times in the past 10, 15 years. From today's date back, the 31st of May, 2026. I'm serious. I mean, that's what I mean. 10-year clothing? What about a 10-year music endeavor? Meaning, you make a song that you just made for fun, and you don't know if anyone's ever going to care about it, and next thing you know, 10 years later, you've still got people across the entire earth listening to your song that you didn't even know if your neighbors would know you made, you know what I mean, or your friends. Now you've got multiple countries, like most countries across the planet, with this song just in their heads for maybe years. There's so many different ways we could discuss what I mean here with 10-year clothing, you know, because I mean it how I mean it is what I'm saying. I'm making this episode right now for the reasons I'm making it. I'm sitting out here, you know, putting up with all the surrounding sounds. Well, the surrounding sounds are here already. I'm the one that chose to sit here. But that right as I say it, a truck drives behind me. Shout out to Chevrolet, seriously, and those Colorado Trail Boss models. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. Wink, wink, hint, hint. It's been months that's been in my head. You'll see what I'm saying. I need a good truck. You'll see what I'm saying. You'll see what I'm saying. You'll see what I'm saying. Stuff like that, though, you just mention one thing simple and quick like that, regardless of what it is, and I've done that so many times under In The Image Clothing Company content, if you will, but just under In The Image Clothing Company's documentations. Date marked, you know, posted public. And a lot of these things one day will really get us beautiful opportunities, maybe 10 years down the road. Do you see what I mean? That I didn't know was going to actually, well, maybe I knew, or, you know, got told by God in the Spirit, and that's why I said the things. I mean, those are the kind of things I'm talking about, things that got promptings by God, you know, from God to say. But, like, not knowing how they'll happen, but just because you say something publicly, you know, I mean, God is called the Word for a reason. You know, in the beginning, God spoke light into existence. That's the thing. A lot of times, just because you said something, it makes it able to happen later because you said it before. Otherwise, you know, maybe the same thing could happen, but there'd be a whole different process in trying to get it to happen. But just the fact that I, you know, say certain things where I do, maybe 10 years down the road, something can happen because 10 years ago at that point, right, I laid a foundation for something. You see what I mean? So 10-year clothing. What does it mean? Well, it means a lot of different things in the way I'm discussing it here, but very metaphoric, you know. 10-year quality, 10-year understandings. 10 years really means potentially even forever, things that last a long time. Quality. Quality. Truth, you know, longevity. but also just to show the 10-year growth. I mean, you look at things like series of TV shows or something that went for about 10 years. I mean, there's a lot of those TV shows. Talk about the 90s. I've been talking about the 90s. I was born in 1999, so I kind of was like just barely there for about a year. About half a year, really, only actually. The 90s was a unique time, though. I mean, each time period's a unique time, but a lot of TV shows from the 90s that went like 10 years, and around that time, same cast and crew, or just about the same cast and crew. And, at the first episode, a lot of times you've got like pilot episodes. You've got things you just start, and it's like, this is probably going to be good, but, we'll make 1 or 2 episodes, or you make 1 season and see how it goes. And a lot of times they had no idea, that they were going to have 10 full years of a whole season each year. But if they wouldn't have started, they wouldn't have had a 10-year TV show. Do you see what I'm saying? With what I'm saying in this episode, it's not just about clothing. I mean, that was a big part of it, and that's just only a part of this episode, though, right? We're a clothing company, but really we're just human beings in the Image Clothing Company, allowing the body to work, living a well-rounded life, do everything clothing, being do everything human beings, having really nothing hold us back from whatever it is that we actually need to do in life, aligning our wills with God. But a lot of times we can have things holding us back because it's our problems that we've caused and we've created, things we're holding on to, 10-year problems. No joke, because you did something once that you probably shouldn't have. You got in a habit. You got in a habit that turned into an addiction. It happens. We could say to the best of us, meaning it happens to anyone in between, whoever. There's a lot of stuff like this, where I'm just talking about permanence. I'm talking about, if not permanence, at least something that is lasting a long time. Certain things couldn't really be permanent, right? We live impermanent existences as human beings. We all die. Impermanence, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. This is the first episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, though. This is good documentation. This is what I'm saying. Build credibility with this. Watch this. That I have filmed, episode 205, this one here, with any device besides the one that I filmed every one of the 204 before this with. It's just this little, in relative value of smartphones at this time. It was a cheap, small device. I'm going to say what it was. Shout out to the iPhone 12 mini. That's what I was using for the first 204 episodes of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, and every single video or documentation of any kind like that, In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, it's also an audio-only form, as 2 forms of viewing it, or one of them's only hearing it, so you're not visually viewing it, but you're audibly listening to the surrounding sounds if they're there, right? That thing was broken. And then it got progressively more broken, and for like the majority of the time that I had it, it was broken to some degree at least. I got it refurbished, used on just the internet website, Amazon.com. Seriously. Just for some real transparency of building credibility through just doing things, even if you don't think you have the right things that you might need or all the things you might need at the time. I'm sitting here discussing deep discussions of just life wisdom, if you will, with just cars whizzing by, and I'm using t-shirts to muffle out the surrounding sounds. That's what I'm saying, is this is what I've been doing, is similar things like this, but with a pretty darn broken device that I bought refurbished after it was already about, I don't know how many years old, 4 years old, give or take. I got it in like 2024, I'm pretty sure. So whenever the iPhone 12 mini got released, it was refurbished and that many years old, as far as 2024 from when it was released. I'm saying that just because no matter what brand of anything I was using, like I was saying earlier, no matter what brand of clothing we're discussing, just things in life, they just are what they are. And a lot of times we've got good quality things, we've got not so good quality things. No matter what it is, if you can have things work for what you need to have them work for, then there you go. Ideally, we've got 10-year products, though. Why I'm saying that and then correlating it into what I'm saying here is because these are 10-year in the Image Clothing Company podcast episodes. And again, 10 years is just that metaphor for a long time. These are eternal, really. As long as we can have access to these, the information we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company, as I was saying earlier in this episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we do all we can to have it be eternal information. Things that just apply to all people always, if we can, and as much as we can with what we're discussing. And we do that, to the degree that we can. Because, yeah, that's what I'm saying is I had this really cheap little refurbished device, and I filmed 204 episodes. The first 204 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast was something that a lot of people wouldn't even really consider something worth trying to do that with. But we wouldn't be here if I didn't use that. And so a lot of times you can take those like fairly cheap quality things. I'm not trying to bash the iPhone 12 mini, really. I mean, it had really pretty high-end specs when it was new at the time. Like, it was actually a good phone. It was just, the biggest part about it is that it's been broken for most of the time that I've been using it. I broke it. And then I broke it more, and right, just using it every day. That's what I'm saying. Not keeping it in my pockets because I don't put things in my pockets, and not having a case on it, so I dropped it and broke it. And I threw it one time. I was really mad and broke the back of it. It's going through a lot, But anyway, then I broke the microphone, one of the two that it had, about a month ago, give or take, and so just a few weeks ago, I got a new device, The point is, it's like what I was saying about these musicians that are these like one-hit wonders, and they make one song, they might not think it's going to go anywhere, or they might not think much of it, or they might overlook what they're really doing. And maybe you've got 10 years or even longer of people having this song on repeat across the whole earth, just because they've made one song, right? I filmed 204 episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast with a little broken device, and you've got all these podcasts out there, people with these high-end, multi-$1,000 professional microphones on these high-end, multi-$1,000 professional cameras with these high-end, multi-$1,000 lenses, and then inside of a studio with a audio crew and a visual crew and a whole team behind them and schedules on when they post their podcasts, and not Jeep Cherokees pulling out with the exhaust in their video or their audio or their podcast, right? It's actually a Grand Cherokee by the brand Jeep. Shout out, copyright infringement. I'm not trying to infringe this life I have. I'm just trying to live it. Wow, I'm a lyricist. Truly. But that's what I mean, is a lot of times things we could possibly overlook and neglect could actually be 10-year things if we dive into them. Well, it's things like this, you look at someone in life and you might not think you could actually make a relationship work with them. You might overlook them, That's crazy. You might overlook someone in life because you might not think that it could possibly go anywhere, like you two together. But if you just get a little bit of time, behind you guys, with getting to know each other, you might have a 10-year relationship, meaning eternal, a long time, forever. But if you don't take the time to try to get to know someone and see if maybe that might be the person for you forever, then you might not be able to have that 10-year relationship that you otherwise could. I mean, if you just don't start, if you don't just start, or if you don't just do things, there you go, Nike. Again, it's the simplicity. That's one of those things that makes Nike such a, what's the word? Successful, really, is what I'm saying, company. And why I use them as one of the examples in this is for the same reasons of these other companies, in similar reasons and ways. Well, Nike is what I'm saying. Just do it is their slogan. How simple and easy is that? And their logo is just a check mark. And you know that company is just it's just like this. And you do that with your finger. You make a check mark. Oh, Nike. Yeah, yeah. That's what makes them one of the things that makes Nike such a successful company. Simplicity. Anyway, what I'm saying is, yeah, if you don't just do something that seems very simple and almost seems too simple that maybe not much will ever come from it, you might miss out on what it could have been. Here comes the wind noise. And just the wind in general. Called the wind of change. The wind of change? Just one wind. How do you calculate that? I don't know. It's an accumulation of many wind. Just the wind in general. There's a lot of different winds that makes up the wind, you know. There's a lot of different human beings that make up the human race. But seriously, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is I have built something permanent here under In The Image Clothing Company, but it wouldn't have been what we could say as a 10-year company, and it's really eternal is what I'm saying. Again, it's just metaphoric, the 10 years, for just a long time. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't just do it. Hey, Nike, that's so funny. Shout out to Shia LaBeouf, too. Seriously, that's awesome. I love Shia LaBeouf. I've talked about him on In The Image Clothing Company podcast before. Another one of those people that just does things, and they last. I mean, it's something that wouldn't have been this long-lasting thing if they didn't just do the thing at first. I intentionally didn't say it as just do it, because Shia LaBeouf, he did this, like, I don't know what you call it, but skit type thing, right? He's an actor, and so he was just standing there saying, just do it. It was for some kind of, like, skit thing. I don't know what you'd word it as exactly, but right, he's yeah, theater, right, if you will. What I'm saying though is that's the point. That's why Nike's so popular. It's a simple message. That's why In The Image Clothing Company podcast just keeps going, because it's a simple thing to do, right? I'm sitting here on the grass at a church building on a Sunday with my dog. Where's your tail, Dante? There you go. Yeah, good boy. And we just overlook these things, and then, well, if you don't do it, you haven't done it. And if you want it to get done, you got to do it. See where I'm going with this, Nike? But do you see what I mean, really, though? Stuff like that. I mean, just do it. And it's little do you know, I'm just here advertising for the brand Nike. Not really, but kind of. Sure, right? Unintentionally in that kind of way, but yeah, that's kind of what I've ended up doing here. Sure, yeah. Because of the reasons I am, you know. "10 years. Things will last a long time if they're there first." If you don't do things, they can't last. But also, if you do things that are just conditional to a time period or people's like expectations, it'll change. Or, yeah, fashion, fads, phases, all the F words. These things just fly away into the past. Another F word for you. I thought this was a Christian podcast. Yeah, until I start cussing out the wind. Even that, I mean, the fact that I made an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Wind Noise, and now it's this like forever explanation on what that means metaphorically, not just the wind that actually picks up when you're trying to film videos outside or audio. Well, videos with audio, or just audio, you know, or whatever. I mean, just wind. but yeah, I mean, now we can always just talk about the wind noise, and it's this permanent reference back to an episode of In The Image Clothing Company podcast where I explained what that can mean metaphorically, because I made the episode, right? Because I documented the beginning of the journey of all this, when we're huge, like actually tangibly wise, not just, as I've said, In The Image Clothing Company always has been, is, and will be huge, because just if nothing else, the truth of the information that we're delivering, the truth of God that we're centered around. But when we actually get like physically, tangibly huge as far as broad spread knowing across the earth of who In The Image Clothing Company is and why, and our team builds and our impact of what we're doing for the environment and through clothing and with people for their bodies, which is the reason we have clothing at all, right? It's for the anatomy of the human body, to allow the body to work. Anyway, once we actually get huge in those ways, as In The Image Clothing Company, which I don't question will happen, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not some kind of startup company, and I've made that very clear because of exactly what I'm saying is the reason that it is able to be all that is because of this, as one of the things. Me sitting here on the lawn, and I'll tell you what, I mean, this is a gas meter as my tripod. So just to be very clear, if you want things to last, do them proper in all the ways you know how to and can with what you have access to and your understanding of it at the time. But also, just do it. Run on down to your local Nike outletter, the outlets for Nike. Oh shoot, wholesale, selling it in whole whale in the belly of the blowhole. It takes sail. Noah or Jonah or someone was sailing or something, and well, this is what I really mean, because yeah, I mean, if I didn't do any of these things that led us up to what we're going to be doing, then we wouldn't be doing those things, not in the same way, at least, you know. I mean, this is what allows us to be 10-year lasting, metaphorically, but forever, really. I mean, there's episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled things like I'm in this for life, spoken by me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. And that makes it more credible. Talking about anything like this that you do makes the next things you do more credible because you've built upon it. And laying a foundation. Episode number 100 of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, 105 back from this one, right? That's what I'm saying. Is what's made this able to be a 205 episode podcast, the way that we could discuss 10-year clothing, something that's lasted this long already, is because I started. I mean, right? You're not going to get anywhere if you don't start. And no matter what people think you're doing or how they think it should be or how important or impactful it is or what they think you should change or whatever, I mean, just the fact that you're doing it is doing it. Nike. It's so funny. Just do it, huh? 10-year clothing. The point is, yeah, stuff that lasts a long time. Only can if it started somewhere for you to say it's lasted until now from, right? The longevity does build credibility, but you kind of have to have it pretty credible and quality at the beginning too, as much as you can, in order for it to last a long time too, right? So there's just there's multiple sides to this. There's multiple reasons why I'm sitting here on the grass right now, discussing this, facing a gas meter and a wall behind it. Right? Yeah. Anyway, 10-year clothing, right? So just to be clear, as a wrap up, if we say more, we say more, but to really hit the point of what I'm saying as far as In the Image Clothing Company's actual physical, tangible products that we will have for sale once we start, truly, it's our goal, it's our intention, no guarantee behind it, but, to have our clothing be something that could last like 10 years. And I've said this before. It feels like I'm saying something I said just about exactly like this before because I have, but that's great. That's the point. Yeah. Documenting and showing congruency. I mean, it was like a year ago, maybe, that I was saying this seriously. So yeah, there you go. Same approach. We don't have clothing available yet or any products as of today's date under In the Image Clothing Company's 5-word name. Okay, the 31st of May though, 2026 today, we will have clothing available, and so that's what I'm saying, is to make it be able to be 10-year clothing. It's like, where's this brand from? Oh, they've been here for well, it's been about, what, a year and a half plus a few months as of this point. I just calculated it while I was sitting there before I filmed this too. It's been, what, like 18 months? No, that's a year and a half. I don't know exactly. Well, I can tell you, right? The 23rd of September 2024, our founding date, and today's the 31st of May 2026 in the Image Clothing Company. There you go, right? Where we're at as of now. This is what makes us able to be a 10-year company. Meaning, there's some kind of wording about that 10-year. That's like a thing, like an award or something. That's not what I'm discussing in this video. I don't even know what that means enough to discuss that right now. I just mean the timeline, just a long-lasting thing. It's able to be long-lasting because it's lasted a long time. You have to start to be able to have time behind you from when you started. I could have done this at episode 200 because then we could have had like 100 episodes exactly since, not like 100 episodes, but 100 episodes exactly since episode 100 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, laying a foundation. And then it's like, yeah, look, I mean, I told you, not to say I told you so, but that's the reason I did it is because I was literally telling you so at the time of what was to come. You know, I was only laying a foundation at episode 100, and it's going to be a 10-year company. 10-year clothing. Okay. Well, I mean, we'll have things, man. Our products under In the Image Clothing Company, hats, and I mean, I'm not guaranteeing exactly what, but I'm just saying things we need, we're going to have. Tops and pants and hats and shoelaces, drawstrings, bags to carry things with, you know. And I just don't want to give exact guarantees on what, but just meaning, you know, when I say we're a clothing company and I say we keep it simple and our goal is minimal and brandless on the exterior, do everything clothing, you know, light and unrestricted, allowing the body to work, all the things, you know, made out of 100% natural materials in all the ways we can, staying centered and fitting correct. And all of these things that it'll be, I'm just saying, you know, we can take that understanding and approach it into any kind of product we could ever put out, even if it's not literal clothing for the body, but like accessories in life, but meaning needed accessories. A lot of times accessories turn to things that you don't need, but you could add to your life. You know, we want to do what we can to stay really intentional on things that are actually really necessary, stuff you could use every day of your life, or stuff that you really need a good item of when you do use it, you know, that's really proper quality, stuff that we can have, do all we can to have the approach being, you know, it lasting 10 years with the design behind it and the quality behind it. What's the quality behind me? It's a toilet. Literally. Right. Anyway, man, 10-year clothing. It's either going to last or it's not. Anything you do in life. There's a good point. I mean, that's basically what we're saying through the whole thing here, but it's a good understanding of how you can choose what you do with your life. Don't let me tell you what to do, but only certain things last. If you want things to last a long time, figure out what things really will last a long time. There's a police car going slow past us. We're not doing anything wrong, but you might wonder why I'm just sitting here by the gas meter. Are you meddling with that? No, I'm not. I filmed it. I documented it. I couldn't make it up. At least, you know, to the degree that it's been recorded. There's a lot of things in life that just don't matter to do. And I can't really tell you what you can and can't do or what's going to matter or not to you. He might be circling around the building. Again, I'm not nervous about it, but he might ask me what I'm doing, which would be kind of funny. That's a different car, right? Either way, like I said, I'm not nervous about it, but funny because things just happen sometimes that are so funny. Stuff you couldn't expect. Happened to me specifically. But what are you doing in your life? Is it permanent? Is it close to permanent at least? Is it something that'll actually last a long time? Is it something that'll actually benefit you for a long time? What you could say as like 10 years metaphorically, but maybe even longer, you know, the rest of your life. If not, maybe don't do it. Anytime you could possibly have the option not to. We only have the amount of time in life we have. We only have the amount of physical energy that we have. If we're not doing things that are 10-year things, as the way that I'm discussing it for the video's title here, for the episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast 205, 10-year clothing as the title, but things that last a long time, like 10 years or longer, or indefinitely even. If we're not doing all that we can to just try to choose things in life to do that will last just a long time and be relatively permanent things within this impermanent life we have, though, right? You have to see the context of the grand scheme of existence as a human being. You're probably wasting a lot of time, wasting a lot of money. You've probably got a lot of things like physical products, tangible physical things that are just taking up space to store in your life. And if they're not things that last a long time, it might be quite a waste of monetary value. And now it's all of a sudden like back to finger pointing Evan Strong, the wrath of God coming through again. I get it, but yeah, there's both sides. The lion and the lamb. We're talking about the sweet side of this, but now we got to get a little bit harsh with it if we're going to talk about how there's the other side of this too, where not only being intentional to have things be 10-year things or just long things that last a long time, right? Ideally permanent things in life, but being intentional to not have impermanent things. Like, just disregard them. I mean, all these things in life you could possibly choose to do that are just so pointless and just don't last. Well, there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled something like, "Why Would I Do That?" I'm pretty sure that's actually the title. Those are the kind of things I'm saying right now is we either choose to do things in life that we've got a pretty good understanding will be some pretty permanent things as far as the experience is something that'll permanently last with us and it was beneficial to do, or we just learned a lot from it. Either way, I guess, right? Maybe it was not the best thing to do, but you learned a lifelong lesson that was beneficial to learn, or whatever, just things that last a long time. We want to do all that we can to have those be the things that we choose to do in life. And we want to actually really be pretty harsh with ourselves, if you will, to not do things that are temporary. Meaning, there's some good things in life that it's hard to even say because there's not that much good in life that's temporary. Things aren't usually that worth it. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm saying it. 10-year clothing. You can have a whole closet full of all these clothing items that are cheap quality, and you don't even want to wear them. But you've got so many items of clothing, or you can have just a very few really solid items of clothing you could do everything in, or ideally, right, and just about everything in, let's say. Some proper 10-year clothing. And that's what I'm saying, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong. Seriously, though, yes. Yes. I talk about, and I've talked about this many times before, I was in the same boat, but a lot of people are like this, where they've got an entire closet or a wardrobe or a whole room full of clothing or buckets or a storage unit somewhere or someone else's house because theirs got full, full of, anything, physical product-wise. Physical, tangible items in life, okay? Worldly things, really. But clothing, okay? You've got a whole closet of clothing, and sure, but you don't wear any of it because it doesn't really work for you very properly. You've got a few things you wear out of all of that. The goal is never having any item of clothing at all that you wouldn't wear. That makes sense, when you start to think about it. But it is hard because there are so many imbalances in clothing. There are so many terrible clothing designs. I'm not bashing people, but the design truly, there's so many terrible for the body, physicality-wise, anatomy of the human being-wise, clothing designs out there that'll physically damage your body just by placing it on you. Earth's gravity's got the same effect on your clothing it has on your body. And just trying to work around this imbalanced, terrible clothing. or clothing that's just made out of terrible material that actually soaks into your body's skin and the holes in your skin called pores and damages your body. The epidermis, the organ of the skin of the body. That's what you're placing your clothing onto. And so I'm just saying it in all truth. I mean, you've got a lot of clothing that will damage your body, and so many people have so many items of clothing they'd never actually wear, but they own it. Get some proper 10-year clothing, whether it's from another brand or in the Image Clothing Company, but our focus under In the Image Clothing Company, or go to Nike. Right? Oh, shoot. Go wear a Champion hoodie. Anyway. We'll always have, in all the ways we possibly can, quality clothing that could last you like 10 years, right? That's the approach or the goal under In the Image Clothing Company. I mean, really, I'm fading out. Has it been 10 years already? No. Maybe that's it that we do with this episode. I mean, I've got the point across, and it was beautiful. I mean, I love it. It's just, we're probably just about to where we need to wrap this one up for the sake of just, that's all we need to say in this one, probably. And then I speak for another 3.5 hours, maybe. But it doesn't matter. It just is what it is because I'm doing it. That's the point. I'm doing it, and now it'll last. This is a 10-year episode plus, right? The point is it's a permanent episode because 75 years down the road from now, 2026, so it'll be like, right around the year 3000. Just kidding. Right around like the year 2100, if, right? Someone's watching this episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast and they're like, man, he said some bold things about how they're going to try to do all they can to be a permanent company. And then they were a permanent company. That's cool. 10-year. Right. Metaphoric, but eternal, really. I mean, something that lasts a long time. That's this episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. And the fact that I sat out here with all the surrounding sounds to do it. A lot of people just think they can't even start unless they have all those things. The professional microphones, the BMWs. Sounds like a gunshot. Anyway, that was a BMW car brand driving by. I'm just saying, people think they can't even start until they have all the highest end things they could possibly need along the way once they get to where they've made it. You can make it if you start first. And you last a long time, and then you have the opportunity to get those things that can really help you make even better quality, like physical quality, things along the way, and then once you go. But if you don't start first, then you might get discouraged. Because if you think, to hear this correct, that's true. Because if you think you need to have those really high-end things before you can do something, then you won't do something until you have those high-end things, and then you might never get those things because you feel like it's just too much to do, and then you might never start. But if you would have just started, you could already be 10 years in before you know it. I mean, we're already well over 1.5 years in In the Image Clothing Company. And, well, okay, let me keep talking about this. Like I said, who knows how long I'll talk in this. I'll just do it as I do it because it's a permanent documentation of where this all came from. And you'll see where this goes. I don't question it because I know the truth behind this, of what I'm doing here as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. But another thing I was praying to God about, seriously, sitting here, that sparked me to film this episode, 205 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, on today's date, the 31st of May, 2026, titled 10-Year Clothing, is, what? I just thought about it, and then I maybe have forgotten now since then. Oh, man. 10-year clothing. Oh, shoot, what was it? I was going to say something about it. It was really, really, really going right along with this, and seriously, one of the big reasons that sparked me to document this, because... Oh, yeah, there you go. I mean, anytime anyone ever asks me like today, let's say, somebody hears that I have a clothing company. Hey, Dante. Good boy. Good boy. And let's say somebody asked me today on the what's today? The 31st of May, 2026. Like, oh, you've got a clothing company? I'm like, yeah, I do, yeah. And they're like, what's it called? Oh, In the Image Clothing Company. All one word, essentially. There's 5 words, but there's no spaces between them. We're only a clothing company to allow the body to work. It's I can't really explain it all to you without you just kind of finding out what it is, unless I was sitting here and really talking to you for a long time, because there's a lot to it. And they're like, oh yeah? How long have you been doing that? I mean, I can say this right now today, truthfully, honestly, without ever having sold a single product under In the Image Clothing Company as of today's date, the 31st of May, 2026. Honestly, though, well, we've been doing what we've been doing for well over a year and a half by now. Yeah, I mean, we've really gotten ourselves established. I mean, certainly quite a while ago, really. I mean, if you look at what we're doing, I put a lot of work into this, and it's been great. I've really learned a lot of what it means for something to be permanent and how to really approach things properly to really put my priorities in the right spot. I mean, I can say this kind of stuff to somebody today on the 31st of May, 2026, and we have no products available yet or sold yet under In the Image Clothing Company, because I truly have been doing this for well over a year and a half. And it's not like I've been trying to figure out what to do for over a year and a half. I've been documenting permanent pieces of context, information, eternal truth that we deliver about Jesus Christ and the design of the human being in his image, how to allow this body to work in a world full of people with so many physical problems in modern 2026. I mean, it's progressively getting worse. And without ever having sold a single product up until now, the 31st of May, 2026, big truck man over there making noise in my podcast episode. Right. I truly have been doing this, yelling over all the surrounding sounds in videos outside. No, but yeah, and that's part of it. But seriously, all the things that we've done under our 5-word company name of In the Image Clothing Company up until today's date, for well over a year and a half at this point, it's been true work that has been something that will permanently last as valid benefit toward our company as a whole, hundreds of years down the road from today's date. When I'm dead, long gone, and someone else picked this company up afterward, and it's just continuing to go forth with all the 4 sides of In the Image Clothing Company that are here now, right? It is what it is. I mean, I have been working. I haven't had any kind of compensation, monetary value-wise, right, for what I've done up until now. The 31st of May, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's 5-word company name, or any of the 4 sides to it. Let me be very clear with this, though. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, with information applying to all dogs on what we title as letting dogs stay natural. In the Image Clothing Company Music, with rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ, with the messages, showing the sizing and setup of guitars up until now, but just instruments, and just discussing music to not alter the body physically while we play it. All sorts of things like this. In the Image Clothing Company Music. The podcast here, right? Discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. 205 episodes as of today's date. And then In the Image Clothing Company's main side, where we allow the body to work and discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth, in such depth you couldn't possibly dispute what we're saying. In a world full of people with all sorts of opinions on how to get your body to do something, truly the only end is to allow God's design of the human being to work. It grows by itself. It only does what it does, determined by the shape and length of the bones, and muscles only pulling and only directly in line. It's only what it is. It's a mechanical machine. And this is what I'm saying is, as of today's date, the 31st of May, 2026. This episode 205 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, titled 10-Year Clothing, with the metaphoric understanding of it, just things in life that could last 10 years, but really just meaning a long time, even forever, if. And there's some things that can truly last forever. This is one of them. All these documentations I've done here, almost 600 videos on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, and most, all of them, are well over a half hour, over an hour, around 2 hours, Some of them, full of documentation of just verbally, deeply, thoroughly explained information that's permanent. And so that's why this episode exists, is to explain things like this where you can't do anything unless you start. But you can't get to the 10-year mark of doing something until you've done things for 10 years. And so far, we've done this for well over a year and a half, and I couldn't try to claim all the progress that's come, even though I've made no money doing it yet. But all the money I'm going to make doing this will come from all these things that I did for it before I made money doing it. It just is what it is. It's how it works. It's the paradoxical gospel of Jesus Christ. Sitting here talking to a gas meter on the 31st of May, 2026. It's backward. You put in the work, you get the reward later. And you put in the work without worrying about the reward, but just knowing it'll come later. If you're doing things that you know are permanent, if you're aligning what you're doing with the truth of God, that's God. He's almighty. You don't get to toy with God. You don't get to question if God's work is something that's going to matter. But you got to understand his timeline. It's a 10-year timeline. You see what I mean? Just meaning a long time. It's permanent, eternal. God, he's on all ends of time. He is time. God doesn't even care about time. But God's got perfect timing. Kind of confusing. Just meaning you're never going to fully comprehend that in life. It's not confusing. I don't mean to be confusing about it. I don't mean to be anything besides who I am. And so here I am with a 10-year company is what I'll be saying in about like 8 years, give or take. A little over 8 years, I'll be like, yeah, it's all because I just started and didn't give up. Not only that, but I documented the journey along the way. Right. How'd you get a company that lasted 10 years? Well, you can see. I documented it. Oh, sweet. Yeah, that's the point. Anyway, there you go. Episode 205. How'd you get to 205 episodes of a podcast? I've been wanting to start a podcast. Well, I started one. That's how. Okay. All right. But I don't have a professional microphone. Oh, that's fine. I sit in the lawn and just cuss at the cars. They drive by. Right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it and just get it done. Shout out to Nike and Shia LaBeouf. Oh, it is a police car. That's what I'm saying. It's funny because now we've got the fruition of the. Is that what you say? Bringing it to fruition. The thing is, though, this is private property. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints property. That is funny, though. I told you there was a police car. He did circle through. I didn't realize he was that car that parked. God speaks. I'm going to say it like that. And God speaks in a lot of ways. 911. It's an emergency, you know. Some things that need to be said. Some things that need to be done. Some truth that needs to be delivered no matter who thinks it matters or perceives it in any certain way or whatever. How do you get to the finish line? You take the first step. How do you get to something the last 10 years? You start it. How do you get quality clothing that could last 10 years or any kind of product? Oh, you put some intentionality into it. Do some research about it. And that's the thing with life, is there's so much to life. There's so much to learn about life. There's so much depth to life. Like the depth to my voice, as my voice like wasn't all that deep right then. That's funny. I'm sitting in a really not so centered position just because I'm doing that, kind of crunched up right here against this gas meter. Shout out to Questar Gas. I'm not joking. I mean, how'd you get your company to last 10 years? Well, I don't know. God did it. I just took the steps he told me to take. Right? That's the truth. Well, like currently, how'd you get in the Image Clothing Company to be something you kept doing for over a year and a half as of today's date, the 31st of May, 2026, like this? I just sat down and said, hey, now, what do I need to do for you, God? And he said, just don't stop. Truly. I'm not joking. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to learn in life. I mean, that's a huge point. I'm ready to have a family. Dante's ready to go because I grabbed the fanny pack. That means we usually get up right after. Good boy, Dante. Oh, that's so cool. Right as I was saying, I'm ready to have a family. My little boy here runs over to me. That's awesome. And that's the thing is, I'm saying that truly for context. I mean, a lot of what I will always do will be very public. Evan Strong, because of In the Image Clothing Company, and in modern day, a lot of people's lives are just very public because of just the ways we have technology and the internet currently, but, I mean, we do so much publicly through In the Image Clothing Company to get what we're doing across the whole earth, for the truth of what we're doing is the reason, right? That's awesome. But, yeah, so giving some real context, though, I mean, when I say I'm ready to have a family, I don't mean like I'm all financially secure and I've got my own house and got my life all in order in a way that could never possibly fall out of place. I just mean I'm so ready to just do what God needs me to, and I'm already doing that, and that's what I'm saying, and that's why I said like it's so cool. Once I said that, Dante comes over to me because Dante's like my son. Family's family, whether it's blood or not, and I've learned a lot in my 10 years of being the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. But just in life. But yeah, I mean, through this little over a year and a half journey at this point of In the Image Clothing Company, I've learned a lot through this specifically. This has kind of been my life. I mean, it's my lifelong career. Again, no matter what it seems like as of today's date, you stick around and find out. I'm not claiming stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to have some kind of expectation, but I've got expectations because I know what God has said to me. And that's just something you'll see with time, and that's something I couldn't claim because you can't just make things happen or everyone would be a millionaire if they wanted to be, But that's another thing that I was praying to God about. You see it, most of these people, most of these companies, most of these businesses, these communities, these non-profit things, or these organizations, and anything in between like that, but things that have like big impact in life. Most of the time, these people came from just about nothing. And I don't want to be like giving some sob story, and I mean, I was probably like upper middle class, maybe, growing up, as far as like the way that I was personally raised. I don't know, but I've never had that much in my life, really. I mean, as of now, we've literally been living out of a wagon. Dante and I, my current standard poodle, I'm not joking about it. Again, we'll give the context on what the move has been like here to St. George, Utah, or where we do under In the Image Clothing Company content, if you will, but I felt like I've never really had that much in life. And not like a comparison to other people, but just meaning, for the reasons I'm saying it, God will take people through a whole struggle journey to refine them, and then afterward He'll bless them with what He has for them. What I'm saying is most of these people you see with these big successful things, for the success of a proper reason, not big successful things just to get money or just to get known by people, for the recognition. That's not what I'm saying. I mean things that actually really last. Like I'm saying 10-year clothing, this episode 205 in the Image Clothing Company podcast. Things that last a long time, things that really matter big impacts, and, yeah. These kind of people are usually, not always, but usually, people, and most of the time, yes, that came from just about nothing. And you could say it's a relative nothing, right? Because it is, depending on where you are on the earth, time period, and your own perception and perspective, like a true proper perception or perspective, because we look at things in life based on what we know, We only know what we know. But life is only what it is at the same time. My point is, it's been rough, and I see that, I see a lot of the reasons. How? Not really why. Meaning, I'm not really discussing why, but how. God is going to bless me with all of what In the Image Clothing Company will be, because I put in the work to be able to receive His blessings. I've done all this work without any kind of actual compensation as far as what the point of the company is, to sell products, right? Is what our company is for, in ways, right? But, and just my life leading up to this, and then my life through this, the fact that I haven't given up on it, like I'm saying, if you want something to happen, you just gotta do it, right? No, I've been rewarded, and it's not about you do something and God rewards you for doing it. It's not a transactional thing with God, but at the same time, in ways it sort of kind of is, seen with context. If you do what God asks, He's going to bless you. That's how it works. We just shouldn't be doing what God asks because we're expecting Him to bless us, and that's the reason we're doing it. We do what God asks because we do what God asks to serve Him, and that's it. But, there's just that depth of relationship that comes when you deepen your relationship. And that's what I'm saying, having a 10-year wife, for example. Having somebody, when I say 10-year, I just mean forever, but long, life-lasting, permanent, 10 years is the metaphor for just a long time in this case. Having a real family is something, yeah. And that's something you're only going to be able to really have if you earn it. Having a real successful company is something you're only going to really be able to have if you earn it. Yeah. You see what I mean? The reason things last is because of the work you put in to make them last. The reason you have a real solid relationship with God, if you do, is because you put in the work to be able to have a real solid relationship with God, to learn who He is and to really figure out how to serve Him and what that means. That only happens if you make it happen. God's not going to force you to have a good relationship with Him so that He has the ability to give you the abundant blessings He has for you. But He needs you to draw closer to Him first before He'll draw closer to you. People aren't going to come just buy all the products you have unless you do what you need to do. There's the cop car again, like I'm saying. Right? What I mean by like I'm saying is that 911, that emergency, where things I need to keep saying. There's a dog just on the corner by itself right there too, where the cop car was just turning. Yeah, that dog's, oh, well, there's a person too, actually. It's probably that guy's dog, but you're not going to have people just buying your products all the time. if you haven't built a good company with quality products. Really, I mean, at least it's not going to last. It might be some hyped up thing for a time and people buy products from it just to kind of see what all the hype is about until they stop buying products from it. But very few things in life last. As I've said so clearly, you know, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, but just me, Evan Strong, in life too in general, but, you know, documented under In the Image Clothing Company content. There's very, very few things in life that I care about at all. I don't care about much of anything. But those things that I do care about, I care about so deeply. I dive into so deeply. I put so much time and attention and intentionality on and in and to and through, and it's very few things. And you just see that through what In the Image Clothing Company is as of today's date, the 31st of May, 2026. And going forth, you know, if you see that where you do, you see it where you do. It is, you will. It's, yeah, right? Because we can't have everything in our lives be what we could call 10-year clothing. We can't have everything last forever. Because even our lives end. But going forth, you know, what matters after this life? What can we take with us, really? As silly as it could seem, this is all coming seriously from me literally saying we're going to do all we can as In the Image Clothing Company to have 10-year products, things that will last around 10 full years. If you're taking care of them, that's the focus, that's the goal. That'd be great if we can. You know, that's what we're trying to do, is something that lasts a long time. There's just only certain things in life that could last a long time, though. That's a big part of why we'll have our logoing and branding on the inside of the clothing too, because sometimes it's cool to put logoing and branding on the exterior of your clothing, and sometimes it's not. No matter what, you always wear clothing. Simple clothing is always timeless. Simple designs of anything are always timeless if you just need a simple thing that just works well. God's simple truth, as it says in the Book of Mormon, the plain and precious truths, they're always timeless because you always need them. All right, thank you.